The King's Avatar, Chapter 1162 Specious Memories, audio source, WuxaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1162, Specious Memories. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. The expressions on the 100 Blossoms players became strained at Yi Xiu's words. The characters in the game couldn't show this though. Therefore characters stood in a very standard defensive formation. Zhang Wei's Witch Endless Forest and Zhou Guangyi's Assassin Cold Seasons stood at the front. Zhou Yuan's Spitfire Bright Blossoms was positioned behind him in the middle. Mo Chuchen's Cleric Arrogant Flowers was to the right of Bright Blossoms. They seemed to just be standing where they pleased. But in reality, the distance between each team member, the view that each team member had of the field, and the vigilance towards their opponents were all strategically arranged. The possible variations and tactical thinking inside this formation couldn't be explained in just a few words. But after hearing Yi Xiu's words, the four players couldn't help but make a few adjustments. Their previous formation had been a practiced one that they had instinctively arranged themselves in after seeing Lord Grimm's and Boundless Sea's positions. However, they suddenly realized that the end of Broken River, the edge of this map, was an instant death spot that need careful consideration before entering. There used to be all sorts of strategies on how to play around the end of Broken River. However, this map had been played on so many times, and it had been so long since this map had been chosen in competitive play. What team specifically practiced for these strategies nowadays? Perhaps they might have some memory of the strategies involved, but their teammates back then definitely weren't the same today. Different classes meant different ways of coordination. If they tried to play from what they remembered, it was possible that it would conflict with their current team structure. Thinking of this, the 100 Blossoms players suddenly realized how terrifying it was for Happy to choose this map. For familiar maps, coordination and whatnot could be accomplished without much thought. However, unfamiliar maps required more carefulness and observation to minimize mistakes. As for Broken River, this map had once been a familiar one, but was now an abandoned one. Everyone had seemingly correct but actually incorrect memories. Were these memories accurate? When victory or defeat depended on these memories, the 100 Blossoms players were hesitant. Doubt started to well up within them. They were afraid that those fuzzy memories might lead to a fatal mistake. The 100 Blossoms players hesitated, and at the same time, they now understood why Happy had chosen this map. These situations depended on their resolve, and judging from the current situation, they clearly weren't resolute enough. After Yi Xiu spoke those words, 100 Blossoms kept on adjusting their positions. They were clearly having trouble parsing through their memories. At that time, our team still had Sun Zheping and Zhang Jiale. The old General Zhang Wei recalled 100 Blossoms' golden age and the scenes of their battles at Broken River. At that time, battling alongside our captain was truly fun. Zhou Guangyi recalled his time with Tyranny and his days fighting with Han Wenking's Desert Dust. At that time, Zhou Yuan didn't have an at that time. He had joined the League in Season 7. By then, this map had already fallen out of use. He really didn't have any competitive experience with Broken River. As for Mo Chuchen was also nervous because of Yi Xiu's words. At this spot, if the opponent pushed them off the waterfall, they would instantly die. What would be the point of healing? How was he supposed to help his team? The 100 Blossoms players each had their own thoughts. For a moment, their positioning became even more disorderly. How could Yi Xiu or Fang Rui miss this opportunity? Sky-piercing strike. Fang Rui's Boundless Sea leaped up and a powerful wave of qi shot out through his hands towards 100 Blossoms. The 100 Blossoms players clearly reacted slowly to this sudden attack. Anyone could see that their priority was distancing themselves from the waterfall. They only dodged. None of them thought of counterattacking. After Fang Rui's Boundless Sea shot out a sky-piercing strike, he didn't receive any interference, so he swiped his two hands and slashed out a chi blade. This chi blade was formed from the Chi Master's breath, so it was without form or light. The only trace of it was the stream of air left behind when it sliced through the air. It was a very concealed flying weapon type skill. Even if the opponent noticed the attack, because of its immaterial form, it was difficult to judge the distance, making defending and dodging more difficult to time. The only way to dodge was to dodge as soon as you noticed it. Safety first. Zhou Yuan saw Boundless Sea swipe his two hands against each other, forming a ripple in the air. He knew it was a chi blade, so he immediately had Bright Blossoms dodge it aside. But to his surprise, the trajectory of this ripple wasn't a straight line, but a cunning arc that deviated from Zhou Yuan's prediction. In the end, the chi blade struck Arrogant Flowers, Team 100 Blossoms cleric. Ye Zhu just said that healing in this battle was pointless, yet Fang Rui's attack had been aimed at 100 Blossoms healer. Mo Chuchen was completely caught off guard. The chi blade connected squarely with Arrogant Flowers. There was no eye-catching explosion or spurt of blood, but the damage dealt was no worse than those flashy attacks. Plus, it had quite a strong knockback. After taking this hit, Arrogant Flowers immediately stumbled. As Boundless Sea fell from the skies, he stretched out his hand towards Arrogant Flower and grabbed. But then a flash of light swept over. Zhou Guangyi's assassin promptly attacked from the side to cut off Boundless Sea. Lord Grim. The old General Zhang Wei had experienced hundreds of battles. No matter how ferociously Boundless Sea attacked, he would never fail to pay attention to Ye Xiu's Lord Grim. While everyone was focusing on Boundless Sea, Zhang Wei saw Lord Grim lift his two hands and get into a certain position. Wasn't it the Chi Master's cloud-grasping fist? He hastily warned everyone in his channel. Zhou Yuan reacted the fastest. Before even understanding what the situation was, Bright Blossoms turned and started firing at Lord Grim. Ye Xiu had no choice but to cancel his sneak attack and dodge. Come this way. The rescued Mo Chuchen directed his Arrogant Flowers to the stone forest to the side. His thought process was quite simple. Since fighting at the end of Broken River was so confusing, why not just fight further away from it? Go. Vice Captain Zhou Yuan approved of Mo Chuchen's thinking and ordered the team to shift over there. In truth, Zhou Yuan didn't like these sorts of special terrain, but he could see the hesitation from his teammates towards their current battlefield. 100 Blossoms had the numbers advantage, 4-2, yet they did not confront the other side directly and took the initiative to shift the battlefield away. Arrogant Flowers ran the fastest. The other three also moved towards this direction. Seeing the waterfall leave their sight, their hearts just started to steady when a boom suddenly came from ahead of them. Arrogant Flowers, who had just run into the stone forest excitedly, was directly thrown out. Soft mist burst out with a dragon breaks the ranks. Arrogant Flowers had been sent flying by this attack already, but that didn't seem to stop the dragon's momentum. Zhou Yuan and the two others hastily dodged. Ye Xiu and Fang Rui saw this and immediately became spirited. Grab one over. Ye Xiu yelled. Okay, which one? Fang Rui replied. 100 Blossoms. 4 players were greatly alarmed. They thought Cloud-Grasping Fist was about to come at them again, so they kept rolling on the ground, refusing to get up. But after looking towards that side, they knew that they had been duped. Lord Grim and Boundless Sea were running rapidly towards them, and Cloud-Grasping Fist was not a skill that could be used while moving. WuxiaWorldAudio.com Their target was still Team 100 Blossoms Cleric, Arrogant Flowers. Lord Grim, Boundless Sea, and Soft Mist had quickly formed a triangle with Arrogant Flowers in the middle. Counting on a cleric to break out of an encirclement alone was unfair. 100 Blossoms' other 3 players immediately tried to rescue him. Zhou Yuan's Bright Blossoms shot a flash bullet. However, Happy's 3 players responded by rushing towards the middle. Lord Grim's Myriad Manifestations umbrella opened up with a whoosh. The flash bullet knocked against the umbrella and exploded. However, the 3 behind the umbrella were unaffected by it and continued to pummel Arrogant Flowers. Zhou Yuan wanted to cry, but no tears came out. If he had known they would do that, he would have thrown a burst grenade. There were no ifs, but it wasn't too late now. Zhou Yuan threw a burst grenade. "Don't!" Zhang Wei shouted, but he was too late. The burst grenade exploded on the umbrella's canopy. The powerful shockwave sent Happy's 3 characters flying, but where was Arrogant Flowers? Teammates were exempt from allied skills, so he should still be there. "Thanks." Lord Grim expressed his thanks. Zhou Yuan composed himself and then took another look. He had located Arrogant Flowers. He was in Lord Grim's hands. Zhou Yuan's view had been blocked by the umbrella, so he didn't know the situation. However, Zhang Wei, who was at a different angle, could see things. When Zhou Yuan threw a burst grenade, Lord Grim just happened to grab Arrogant Flowers. Fling. Grabs had the highest priority out of any skill. Even the shockwave from Burst Grenade failed to interrupt Lord Grim's grab, leading to Arrogant Flowers being pushed out along with Lord Grim. And Burst Grenade did nothing but send people flying away. The airborne Lord Grim was free to move around. As a result, he continued his combo with a fling, throwing Arrogant Flower away. Where to? Towards the waterfall, of course. "Ah!" Zhou Yuan cried out, but unfortunately, no one could hear him. None of the other 300 Blossom players were able to intercept him in time. "Don't panic. Figure out the direction of the flow and swim back." Quote, at the crucial moment, it was still the old General Zhang Wei who was the calmest. He deduced that at Lord Grim's height, it was not possible for him to directly throw Arrogant Flowers outside of the waterfall. Arrogant Flower would fall into the water, but as long as he figured out the direction of the flow fast enough, he wouldn't be pulled down the waterfall. However, he needed to be fast because it had to be done in an instant. "Calm down," Mo Chuchin nervously reminded himself. He could see the surface of the river and the scenery outside the map, which looked quite beautiful. "I can't go there," Mo Chuchin encouraged himself, boosting his confidence. He was ready to drop into the water. Bang! What was that? That wasn't the sound of a splash. Where am I? His screen violently shook. By the time Mo Chuchin finished adjusting himself, he realized that the broken river was far away. Arrogant Flower was already heading down towards that beautiful world on the other side.